Howdy design fans and welcome back. Well, it's pretty exciting. We're getting close to the end of section 1, which is great because that means we get to drink more bourbon, right? Which is totally normal, right? You drink when you finish the section. So that's pretty cool. Carrying on from the last lecture where we spoke about awareness and more particularly that stage in the funnel and how it relates to effective and clear web design, let's take a few minutes. I'm going to jump into some slides and we'll talk about some interesting aspects of how to design effectively for visitors who are in the interest stage of the buying funnel. So the idea here in the interest stage, we have a higher level of commitment, of commercial commitment for your website visitors. People who have progressed, they are aware of your products, but now they're actually interested to learn more. They're not that highly committed yet. They haven't developed a desire for your product, but there's a medium level of interest. The interest stage it's actually more similar to the awareness stage than it is the desire stage. It's a really not a high level of commitment. Your users are still in the process of determining what they need. It's less about what you offer and more about what they're in the market for. Okay, that's really kind of the idea. People can get into the interest stage very quickly, right? We spoke about in one of the previous lectures that the buying funnel is much more complex than just those 4 stages. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of nuances in the stages. And just a fleeting level of attention towards one of your products or services or towards a specific element on your landing page is enough to get somebody actually interested and kind of geared up about what you sell. What's very important to remember about interest is leave the marketing, leave the jargon, leave sort of all these nice selling points that you might have for the final stages. You might have all these elements on any given landing page, which is fine. But as you understand, you want to develop an understanding of your website visitors. It's important to understand that people who are just interested in your products or services, that level of interest needs to be self-directed and self-selected. You're never going to convince somebody that they're interested in what you sell. Okay, that's important. You might convince somebody to buy what you sell if they desire what you sell. You might convince somebody that you're a better option than the competition. That's your job as a marketer. But you're never going to convince somebody that they should be interested in what you sell. Okay, that's an important distinction to remember. I want to take a minute to discuss this idea of person-based selection versus needs-based selection. And I'm going to show you something really cool, and it's quite relevant to how you display and how you offer information about your products and services. Person-based selection refers to giving content, giving information about your products and services that help a person identify with who they are, their actual individual characteristics. People are identifying with how you relay that information on your website. And right over here on the right is a perfect example of this. This is a screenshot from a website called generalassembly.com. They're a large training company based out of New York City. And as you see, they have a few different options for a person to navigate further into the funnel. Full-time, part-time, online, right? Those are characteristics of you, of the user. They're not necessarily characteristics of their products. Are you a full-time student? Do you identify as a part-time student? Do you identify as an online student? I agree, this is a bit of a hybrid. It could be identifying parts of the actual product, but mainly people are identifying with, oh, I'm a full-time student, I want to learn more, or I'm a part-time student, I want to learn more. So they have a very good way of displaying that information and conveying, helping people self-identify and self-select based on the person-based selection method. Another advantage of the person-based selection method, it gives users clarity and context that helps them make a decision faster. We're going to talk in a second about needs-based selection methods or needs-based self-selection, but a person's needs are more fleeting. Even in a person's own consciousness, their specific needs at any given time are less concrete in their mind than who I identify as a person, how I identify based on my own individual characteristics. So it's oftentimes a very quick way in a very clear way, to tell a user, oh, this is where I want to go on your website. This is the type of product I want to look into. This is the service that I want to continue to explore. Okay, that's another advantage of the person-based selection system. And once again, this is an example of General Assembly. And you'll have all these slides so you can take a look at these pictures as you wish. Now here's an example of needs-based selection. And we're going to talk about this image in a second. The needs-based selection method, it allows users to identify with a particular need that they're looking to meet, or a specific question that they want answered. And the way you display your product information is ultimately going to try to be aligned with the different potential needs of your visitors. Not all your visitors will have the same needs. Not all your visitors will have the same questions that they're looking to have answered. This sort of system of the needs-based selection could increase interest by offering contextual and relevant information with little cognitive strain. There's no right or wrong way whether or not you should be offering your information or designing your site based on the needs-based selection method or the person-based selection method. It all depends on what's going to be most effective for your visitors. I'm going to show you an interesting test that I ran in a minute here. Person-based selection, it's usually more effective and relatable. But like I said, it depends on your business. The reason why person-based selection is better, like I just said, is it gives a person clarity, a quicker context in which to identify what they're looking for, because they understand their own characteristics in a much clearer and more easily definable way than what their needs might be in the context of your products. Now, take a look at this screenshot on the right. You see this is a screenshot from a company called LendingTree, another big company many of you may have heard. They know that a lot of their visitors to the site are looking for lots of different types of things, and they offer lots of different types of products. So they have a really great breakdown with a needs-based system. So they have over here mortgage loans, personal loans, credit cards, business loans, auto loans, student loans, right? And then you can also get a free credit score. None of these things identify the person. Are you poor? Are you rich? Are you depressed? Right? Those are things are you a student? Are you a stay-at-home mom? Those are all things that are characteristics of the person themselves, which may relate. There might be an overlap to specific types of products and services. But LendingTree decided, and I'm sure that they've tested this, that having a needs-based selection system towards the top of their funnel is more effective for their visitors. So that's a really cool thing over there. I want to talk to you about the preference usability test. We spoke about the 5-second test. We spoke about it a lot, and we're going to show you some more interesting 5-second tests in section 2 of this course. But the preference test in usability is also a really cool test. And this is the second usability test that we're going to talk about. It's basically very simple. You're giving users at least 2 different images or 2 different product designs, mock-ups, wireframes. It could be an icon. It could be anything. 2 different iterations, at least 2. And you're simply asking them, which one did you like better? But what makes a preference test, and you're going to be running your own preference tests, and I hope that you continue to run your own preference tests for many years to come, you want to give the user specific instructions and context to what they're looking at before you show them the images and ask them what they like better. If you're trying to test a color scheme, then you want to make mention of that. If you're trying to test a navigational structure, you want to specify that to the user. This is not like the 5-second test where you want to give the users as little information as possible and ask them these questions. This is a different sort of test. Also, what's important is the what, who, and why. So give them a scenario. You're coming to the site and you're trying to find the right light bulb for the lights in your garage. And you need to find information about the color temperature or the wattage, whatever it might be. So when you're running a preference test, you want to design the preference test where the user could kind of step in the shoes of the type of visitor that you're looking to test. It's a very good test for getting an objective measure of clarity, and for figuring out the best approach and which is the best design for your website. Once again, this goes back to admitting we have a problem. Oftentimes, the person who gets paid the highest in the company is the one who makes these design decisions without much testing. But this preference test is very good for logos, it's very good for color schemes, it could be a headline, a call to action, and it really does kind of outsource and take away the subjectivity or the opinions of just 1 or 2 people in your company, or even your own opinion of what might be the best design. And here's a really, really cool thing that I ran. This is a screenshot of a company's website, and the company's name is Bluehost. And this is from a page of their website where users could select which package they want for website hosting. They offer website hosting solutions. They offer a bunch of different types of services. This is their main offering. And this is how they've labeled their products. Shared hosting, VPS, which stands for Virtual Private Server, and dedicated hosting. They're using a needs-based selection system, right? Do I need a shared server, which is great for low traffic websites? Do I need a virtual private server, which is good for kind of mid-sized companies and websites that are getting a high level of traffic? Or do I need a dedicated server just for my website, which is typically required by larger companies and enterprise level websites with very, very high traffic volumes, right? So they're using a needs-based system. As you could see here, those are the titles of their packages. Now, I decided to make some modifications to this screenshot, and I said, let's see if their customers would better identify and prefer to be presented with package options that help them identify based on a person-based identification selection system. So I just changed the titles. All I did, I left everything else the same. I just changed the titles of their packages. So the first one now is for bloggers and students. That would be the shared hosting package, which is what the shared hosting package is for. It's for smaller websites, bloggers and students. The VPS would be for small businesses that want to have more guarantees on site speed. They don't want to have any traffic clogging, whatever it is. And the dedicated for large companies. I dropped the names of the need of the actual product, and I replaced them with self-identifiers. And I ran this test. We asked 25 respondents from Canada, the United States, and the UK. This is the person-based selection. This is the two screenshots side by side if you want to quickly see them as a comparison. The needs-based system on the left, the person-based selection system on the right, and look at these results. Incredible. Wow. 84% of respondents preferred the person-based selection system, and only 4 people, 16% of respondents, said they preferred the needs-based system, right? So statistically, this has a 99% statistical confidence interval, which means that you could be 99% confident that these results are statistically valid. They would repeat themselves over and over and over again every time we ran this to 25 new respondents, and that they're not just happenstance. They're not just chance. These are statistically valid results to a 99% confidence interval. So that's really, really interesting. There is no right or wrong when it comes to helping your website visitors develop interest in your packages and your services and your products, how you display that information, whether it's going to be person-based selection or needs-based selection. Of course, we know it's always self-selected. You can never just market to people in a gaudy or annoying or kind of obnoxious way. It's going to always be self-selected. Is it a person-based selection system or is it a needs-based selection system? And there's no right or wrong answer, but as you could see in this test, there are times where one is clearly better than the other. So it's important for you to understand who your website visitors are and to get a sense of how you should display this information that will make it as clear and as easy and as simple for your website visitors to understand. So here's a quick exercise. Very simple, right? Run your own preference test. You could be testing a logo, you could be testing a color scheme, a headline, a subheadline, a call to action, your entire hero section, a pricing table, whatever you want to do. But don't forget the who, the what, and the why. It doesn't really matter how many people you ask. Try to ask 4 or 5 different people. This should be easier. You don't have to find strangers. You could find people you know. There are a lot of tools online that you could use to kind of modify what a live web page looks like. So you could kind of mock up your own company's page real quickly and just take a screen grab of the 2 different styles and just ask different people which ones do they like better, and then ask them why. What appealed to them about the design that they chose that they like better. And I think you're going to get some interesting results. If you've gotten some interesting results from the previous exercises that we've had so far in this course, I hope you did. I definitely think you're going to see some interesting and insightful results in this lecture as well. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about desire, that stage of the funnel, and some aspects that relate to web design and effective and clear design that are most relevant to your visitors who are in a further stage of the funnel, who are developing a desire for your products, and who hopefully are leading towards the ultimate goal of acting and transacting and becoming customers and evangelizing and referring and all the good things. So thanks for sticking with me through this one, and we'll see you guys very soon in the next lecture.